What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And in today's video, this is going to be some preparation for the upcoming Super Pirate Rumble. Now, at this current point in time, we don't know if there's any other secret units that are going to be releasing between now and the start of the championship series of Super Pirate Rumble. But do note, remember that for the Super Pirate Rumble during championship or the exhibition series, that is exactly where all of the stuff is going to go down in terms of the ranking between your alliance members and also other alliances and also against the Japanese version of the game. So I want to make sure that you guys are fully prepared for this upcoming Super Pirate Rumble. So what we're doing in today's video is I'm going to showcase my own personal teams, and I'll also give you guys a bit of a rundown as to what else you could possibly use, like more optimal teams for Pirate Rumble, because I know Pirate Rumble is not everyone's cup of tea. So hopefully this video is able to provide you guys with a bit of guidance as to how you can build your teams for the upcoming championship series. So let's go ahead and jump into the video. I'll break down my own personal teams and also give you some other suggestions along the way. Alright, so first of which I want to talk about the strength team in Pirate Rumble. So this is my own current personal team that I am using right now, and it seems to be working quite well. I had one situation earlier in the in like Block A or something where I actually did lose to to a DEX team with a strength team. It wasn't this exact team, but that is what caused me to go ahead and build a slightly different team. And shout out to some of my alliance members who had some really good suggestions. And this is what we have right now. So the thing about it is that you want to definitely be building teams that are able to counter the enemy. Not only just have really good damage output and do more damage to certain typings, but also have debuffers. So namely Kaku on this team, Toki on this team, I think Arlong as well, all have debuffs against DEX enemies. So that's really nice. It enables you to get, it just increases your chances of winning. And of course, having other characters like Kozuki Odin and Kid and Versus Ace, all those characters just do crazy amounts of damage. Even Arlong, Law, Sanji themselves can do pretty good amounts of damage as well. Do note though that during this championship series, characters that are Pirate Rumble Sugo Fest exclusive characters, so PvP rare recruits, whether it be the regular rare recruits or the Sugo Fest exclusives, all give you additional points. So it is ideal to build a team with as many, PvP rare recruits as possible, but also trying to balance out a team that's actually good, because not all PvP rare recruits are equal. So this team balances it out quite well. I think, in my opinion, the best way to go about it is to have 4 legends and 4 PvP rare recruits if you're able to do so. So that's what we're doing with this team here, but there are a couple of other characters that you may want to put on the team or may consider. I think characters such as the Sugo Fest exclusive Kuma from the PvP Sugo Fest is also a very good option. He does good damage through defense. Also, Superclass Doflamingo is another character that works okay, also does damage through defense, though his passive in particular isn't the best because it is focused around the driven class. Characters such as the Summer Legend Vivi is also a decent option, pretty good passive and special for that unit. And also PvP Rare Recruit Cracker is another one that you may want to consider putting on the team, just to give you a bit of different options for building a strength team in Pirate Rumble. And obviously you want to be using a strength team against any DEX team that you come up against during the championship series. So now we move on to a DEX-based team. Now, of course, if you have a DEX team, you want to take on the opposing quick teams in Pirate Rumble. It's better to have multiple different teams to take on various different types of enemies and not really put all your eggs in one basket and expect one team to carry you to victory. While there are a lot of good teams out there that can take on multiple types of teams, it is better to have multiple crews built to give you a higher chance at success. So after looking at the strength team, I want to have a look at the DEX team right now. This is my own personal team, and it actually works very effectively. I haven't had a single loss with this team against opposing quick teams, though I haven't gone up against the brand new Legend V2 Brook yet, and I think having him, Izo, and Okiku, and stuff like that in the quick team, which we'll talk about in a moment, those are pretty oppressive teams, and they may be difficult to come up against. Saying that though, I think the combination of Moria, who is such a phenomenal DEX PvP rare recruit, and if you have him, it makes your DEX team so much more powerful, as his special ability is able to provide so much defense down, not only to the enemy side of the field, but then if they are DEX, he gives additional defense down. He also does very good damage by himself, and then partnering that with the brand new Legend V2 Dogstorm and V2 Cat Viper, both of them together on a team is exceptional. They do so much damage and they have great passives together as well. As for the other characters that I am personally using, also PvP Rare Recruit Cavendish is a pretty solid option, provides some defensive support with his passive, but his special provides amazing single target damage. We've also got Borsalino, who's able to launch his special pretty quickly, provides an attack and a defense boost to our DEX characters. He does only do 1000 damage, but being able to launch his special so consistently enables the rest of our huge damage dealers to have buffed stats for when they launch their special. And then for my sub characters on my bench, we've got V2 Doflamingo 6+, who's probably one of the best nukers in the game, especially when time is running low. And then I've also got Whitebeard and Sobermask. Sobermask is great because he has great synergy with the rest of the team, and Whitebeard is just a pretty solid all-round great character. But other good bench characters could be like Rebecca and Toy Soldier. You could run PvP Rare Recruit Smoker because he's got such a great passive that enables your opposing enemies' normal attacks to have a high chance of missing, which is really cool. So, you know, these are all relatively okay characters. You could even use Luffy and the Straw Hats, the super Sugofest exclusive. He has a passive that can give a little bit of buff to Dex. It's not the best, but it is an option, and that character is just insanely powerful as it is. Even like CP0 Legend Lucci is pretty good. Queen is okay, but definitely better on a defensive aspect. I think maybe CP0 Lucci is another character you may want to consider, just depending on the situation. Alright, so now that we've had a look at the DEX team, let's have a look at the quick team. So for quick teams here, this is what I'm currently running right now, and I'm having a pretty good time with it. Though, personally, I do really want to change this up, but unfortunately, we've been unlucky in recent Sugo Fests, haven't been able to get our hands on Izo and Okiku, as well as the brand new Legend Brook. Those two characters, I think, are great additions to the quick team here. Personally, if I did have them, I would definitely be replacing Magellan with Brook. I definitely want to try that out eventually if I ever pull that Brook, just due to the fact that, you know, Brook has a lot of overlap with what Magellan already does. The only real problem with Brook himself is the fact that he doesn't do damage with his special, but the other aspects of Brook's special are far superior to what Magellan is providing, in my personal opinion, so I definitely would love to try that. And also, Izo and Okiku are a great addition to the quick team. They give you a much better chance at the matchup versus strength. There have been so many times, personally, where I've used a strength team against opposing quick teams by accident, and they end up still winning, which is pretty surprising. It really goes to show how weakened the quick team currently is. But of course, with the additions of Izo and Okiku, and also V2 Brook, they definitely help you out in that instance. So I think the quick team is still very solid. I think versus Akainu is still an incredibly powerful unit. The super type Kaido here is also very, very good. I've got Final Tap Luffy here on the bench. He's okay, not a bad unit to come on late game, but we've also got PvP Rare Recruit Shiryu. The Groggy monsters are actually a really great unit too, because they provide huge damage at the start of the match, and when they launch their special, they actually do a very hefty amount of damage. And once again, PvP Sobermask and also PvP Whitebeard providing a little bit of, bit of balance on the bench when they come on late game, do a pretty good amount of damage. And of course, Whitebeard has great synergy with the rest of the team. Sobermask, not so much, but a very good late game nuker, that is for sure. But of course, if you have access to Izo and Okiku or V2 Brook, those are characters you may want to consider adding to this team as well. So after talking about quick, let's look at the side team. Now, in my opinion, this is about as optimal as a side team gets. However, there are lots of different characters you could put in replace of Luffy Straw Hat character that I have on my team right now. We're going to be looking at another side team a little bit later on in this video. But for this team in particular, you could have a lot of other characters. Versus Shanks, for example, is an okay option. You've got characters such as Germa 66, which is a character that I've used a lot. I think they're a very good unit. They have an amazing defensive passive, and if you're up against an int team, as an opposing team, then Germa is probably the character you want on your team. They provide really good debuffs to the int team and definitely helps you out. The only real problem with this side team that I'm showing you guys right now is that there's only really one character on this team that's able to do like massive, crazy, absurd amounts of damage, and that's Yamato with no surprise. But the synergy between Yamato, NL, Rebecca, Law, like those four units are amazing together. And then you've got, you know, you can have the Luffy Straw Hat character, you can have versus Shanks, you can have even OG V1 Roger, another okay option. Then the real problem is that like characters like Enel and Law, and even Luffy and the Straw Hats, for example, Germa, those characters, they do okay damage, but they're not going to be those heavy hitters that completely wipe out an opposing side of the field. Now, as for the sub characters, if you're lucky enough to get PvP Smoothie, she is probably probably the best bench unit you can have for Psy, but other characters like Gaban is also very good. He does pretty good damage, great passive. I've also got the Kalgara Nolan. They're okay, but they only do single target damage. They've got a relatively low CT though, so they're a pretty good option, and Whitebeard is an okay option as well. But if you do end up switching out the Straw Hat characters on this team, you can have the PvP Sober Mask on there instead. It really comes down to what you want, but as I said, we're going to be looking at a different team throughout this video. Alright, so now we're going to have a look at a slasher team right now. Now, as for the slasher team, it's a bit interesting because I really wouldn't suggest building a slasher team unless if that's literally the only thing that you can build. Because the main issue with slashers is that their defense is absolutely terrible. So essentially, if your opposing side of the field are able to tank all of your hits and they're able to output damage back, in a lot of instances, you're going to die. They just have no defense, right? However, there is the opposite side of that coin, and that is the fact that this team can output so much damage very quickly. Characters like Roger and Newgate essentially guarantee you 2 knockouts, at least in a lot of cases, you know, with a AoE guaranteed to hit 30% health cut and then targets 2 enemies for, I think it's 2 times damage through defense. Like, that's pretty absurd. That's going to do a lot of damage. And then you've got characters like Borsalino, which can consistently do damage and consistently buff your character stats. Odin, when he does his damage, he hits incredibly hard as well. Doflamingo is kind of like the main defense style unit for this team anyways. And then as for the other 4 characters, I have put in PvP Rev Recruits. All of these characters are slasher characters, so they will get buffs from the rest of the characters on the crew. However, you've got characters like Law, for example, which can buff Strength, which in turn buffs the Odin. You've got Smoothie, which can buff Borsalino. You could technically, you know, chuck out a lot of these PvP Rev Recruits to fit another Sugo Fest exclusive, which I'm not a big fan of, plus that gets you less points for the event. But realistically, you could put characters like Legend Cracker or Wano Law, for example, which can increase the CT of your slashes, which would be only really himself and the Borsalino character. But the fact that, you know, the Roger and Newgate dual unit are not classified as a color really does limit your options now. But still, this is a team that can do lots of damage very quickly and is an option for the upcoming Championship Series. So this is also another team that I absolutely adore. This is the main team that I always go to. This is my go-to team right here, the Psy Slasher team. So we talked about the Psy team before, and one of the main drawbacks with that team is that it doesn't have a lot of characters that can really pack a punch and really just wipe out an enemy side of the field. Now in this team, we have a couple of characters that can do that. We've got obviously Yamato, which can do incredible amounts of damage to 2 units, as well as halving their stats. And then, in turn, by having their stats, your other characters do more damage, which would be like your Rebecca and Toy Soldier, and V2 Odin. I think V2 Odin, like, high key, is like one of the top 3 best units in Pirate Rumble right now. He does incredible damage, he has great synergy with some of the other characters that you're seeing here, and he has the really high chance of action binding the characters that he hits as well. So if they're not dead, they're going to be action binded, which is just incredible. And the fact that you have Wano Law, which can debuff Driven and Powerhouse, if you come up against them, Wano Law is going to be so great against them. And then Wano Law also provides the increased CT as well. You've got Roger, who's got great synergy here as well, but Roger can be switched out for any other Psy Free Spirit character. You could put in Luffy and the Straw Hats if you really wanted to. Also another really solid option. I do like Roger though, because he provides incredible debuffs to the enemy side of the field, which in turn gives you more damage, of course. So I like that. You could do a lot of different options, but the Mono Psy team, like, I rarely have ever lost with this team. This team is insane, and a lot of int teams that you come up against that have the incredible buffs and incredible defense and HP and healing and all of those really annoying teams, well, this team can beat it. This team can beat a majority of those super bulky int teams in defense, and that's why I adore this team. It can get around most things in the game. Now, as for now, those are all of the teams that I am currently using in Pirate Rumble. However, I know some people may also ask, you know, why didn't you talk about an int team? But realistically, int is not a very good offensive team at all, and I wouldn't advise it. However, with the release of the brand new Pirate Rumble Legend U-Rogue, as well as the Dorian Broggy, it may be a valid option, but as it stands right now, I probably, even if you did luckily enough pull them, I probably still wouldn't advise using them in Pirate Rumble. I just don't think they're a very valid option. They don't have a lot of damage output, which really does hurt them. So they're just mainly just a punching bag for a lot of teams. So I really wouldn't advise using an int attack team. However, the teams that I've talked about in this video, whether it be one of the other colors being Strength, Quick, Dex, or Psy, all very good. And then some of the classes such as Slasher are okay. Also, the Free Spirit team with Psy characters in mind with Luffy and the Straw Hats is also another really solid option. If you can build a team around Luffy and the Straw Hats, yeah, it's a very solid team and very hard for the enemy to deal with. But because Luffy doesn't really have the solid foundations around him, I don't know if I'd really suggest building a team with him either. It's super squishy, and it really doesn't have a lot of things going for it. But then again, you know, as this championship series progresses, we may see some teams come out of it that are extremely strong. So I'll make sure to report on some of those teams that come out during the championship series, and we'll have to talk about them, of course. But with all that being said, that is going to be the breakdown of my own personal teams heading into this brand new championship for the Super Pirate Rumble. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video today, and if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all of the content that I post on my channel, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.